If you're new to juggling and the juggling community and you're already feeling lost and not really sure where to look, this video is for you. My name is Zach McAllister, and these are the things I wish I knew when I first started juggling. Let's start off with the basics. Juggling is both a hobby, but it is also a performance art. A lot of people perform and make a living juggling, and a lot of people do it as a hobby. There's probably a lot more doing it as a hobby currently, but there's quite a few performers as well. Everything that I talk about today is going to be listed in the description, whether it's a festival, a convention, a tutorial, a database where you can check out different things about juggling, so make sure to check it out when you're done watching this video. Let's start off somewhere very easy that encompasses a lot of the community, Juggle Wiki. To me personally, I think this is a very underutilized website. Juggle Wiki is a great resource for beginner jugglers, people who are not already members of the community. Maybe they've been juggling for a while, but they don't really know what's out there. They don't know a lot of different styles of juggling. Juggle Wiki has all of that. They have lists of tutorials. They have descriptions of all the different juggling props, the different juggling tricks. They have lists of jugglers you can go and you can watch, and there's a lot of lists of different juggling world records. If you care about that, you can look at that as well. I think it's just a really great underutilized resource in the juggling community. For example, if I wanted to look up the trick Mills Mess and see what exactly it is or how it works, then you can look it up on Juggle Wiki and it'll describe it for you, and it'll even link you to some tutorials. Speaking of tutorials, if you're really looking for a good tutorial, there is a lot of them linked under all of the different trick descriptions on Juggle Wiki. If you want my personal opinion, you should look up Taylor Tries on YouTube. She makes the world's best juggling tutorials. The quality is so nice and the visuals just really explain perfectly what it is that they're trying to teach. Now, of course, if you don't see a tutorial that seems to work for you, or maybe you don't see a tutorial at all on Juggle Wiki or Taylor Tries, you can always look everything up on YouTube with the word tutorial, and more often than not, you'll find a tutorial for that trick. Keeping things moving, world records. There's a lot of world records on Juggle Wiki, and they encompass a lot of different tricks and a lot of different techniques. You might have seen jugglers who have a Guinness World Record in juggling, and sometimes there is a Guinness World Record that is lower than the record of footage that you can find on Juggle Wiki. This is because not everyone can afford to bring out or work with Guinness or go through the grueling process of filming everything for Guinness. So in the greater world, it might seem less official, but Juggle Wiki records are just as legit because they're really accepted by most of the community. And if you want to see something really fun with world records, you can go to recordsetter.com. There is plenty of world records on there that are absolutely hilarious and just absolutely ridiculous world records, but that is for another video. Keeping things moving forward, let's talk conventions and festivals. Now, these are meetings where jugglers can get together and show each other cool juggling stuff. For me, this is my vacation every year. I always attend the IJA convention, the International Jugglers Association Festival. It's a 7-day festival and it happens every summer, and it's hosted by the IJA, the International Jugglers Association. The International Jugglers Association is the oldest organization for juggling in the world, being formed in 1947, but they also host the International Jugglers Association Festival, which is by far the biggest festival in North America, being the longest. It's 7 days long, there's shows every single day, there's workshops, there's an open space 24/7 where you can juggle and hang out and meet all these different types of jugglers and make a bunch of different friends. It is the most fun I have every year, and I don't plan on stopping going anytime soon. They even host a yearly stage competition, which is by some considered to be the World Championships of juggling. Some people just call it the IJA Championships, depends on who you ask. But there's also other different types of competitions that happen in the same week. There is juggling, there is the X-juggling, where you do your best trick, and there's a judge panel that votes which trick they think is the best. And then finally, there's the numbers competition, where people are really pushing the limits of juggling and doing as many items as they can to an open audience. But the IJA is more than just a festival. In the past few decades, they've made magazines, they've made videos, they've done partnership programs. They even release these historical juggling articles through their website, which is pretty cool. You can read about all these different jugglers from the past who've done cool things and maybe the lineage of a juggling prop or things like that. My favorite thing the IJA does is the Tricks of the Month. It's called the Tricks of the Month, but it's more like a weekly series where they collaborate with a juggler and the juggler shows off some tricks that they're working on. And it's super, super cool to see all of these new jugglers and different jugglers coming together and having their tricks posted on the IJA website. It's usually a weekly thing. You can find these by checking out the IJA Jugglers YouTube channel, which will also, of course, be linked down below. The IJA itself is also a really nice hub if you're looking for new jugglers and new things happening in the juggling community, because on Instagram, on Facebook, they're constantly posting and sharing different styles of juggling. So if nothing else, just follow the IJA on Instagram. They post a lot of different cool things that are accurate and up to date that are currently happening in the community. This would be a good one to look out for. Let's switch gears to Facebook. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, it's Facebook. The only reason I have Facebook is because of juggling. There are so many big groups for juggling on Facebook and also for work that it kind of feels like I'm missing out not to be on Facebook. The biggest one that I can say is Juggling Home. Juggling Home is a hub where people talk and they discuss and they post different things about juggling together, and it's a great way to make new acquaintances and just kind of familiarize yourself with the community. Of course, the IJA also has a Facebook group you can check out as well, and one more big group that's on Facebook is Juggling Memes. It's pretty stupid, it's just people sharing juggling memes, but it's fun to have because, you know, there's only so many communal areas for juggling online. Switching back to competitions, there is another organization that does these large competitions called the WJF. They've been running for over 20 years, I think, and they put on a totally different kind of competition than the IJA does. The IJA's is about performance, it's about technique, it's about skill, it's about creativity, it's a bunch of different categories. And the WJF, or World Juggling Federation's whole idea is that they want to make the most strict gymnastic style juggling routine that is only based on how difficult and how well executed the tricks are. Growing up, I thought this was super cool, and I still think it's super cool. You can find a lot of these videos on the WJF's YouTube channel. They post a lot of these big compilations. So if you're looking for inspiration or just some really difficult juggling, this is definitely one of the main places to look. And one more thing to add, the WJF hosts their competition at their festival, at their convention, which has been changing locations as of lately, but it's usually hosted in Las Vegas. This year, however, it's going to be at the EJC, which is what we're talking about next. The EJC, or European Juggling Convention, is the biggest juggling convention in the world. It gets such a large draw, and it is really overwhelming if you've never been there before. I've gone one time, and it's thousands. It is thousands of jugglers all in the same space practicing, and they're all so amazing, but it is a really, really potent and tight group of amazing jugglers. So the same way I said, if you live in North America and you want to go to a really big and nice juggling convention, I would go to the IJA festival. In the same way, if you're in Europe or a neighboring country and you want to go to a big convention, I would go to EJC. While the EJC usually doesn't have competitions, they're going to be teaming up with the WJF this year, so you can expect to see footage and maybe video of that coming in the next few months. And finally, since we're talking about competitions and we're talking about big festivals, we need to talk about the JJF. This is a large festival that's held in Japan. It's the Japan Juggling Festival, and it is absolutely wild looking. I have personally never been, but it is a bucket list festival for me. They have their own competition, which seems to be some kind of fusion between the WJF competition and the IJA, where technique is really important, but there's also the stage elements as well, where you make a routine and you perform it, and you hope for the best. And something really nice and interesting about the JJF is that the style of juggling that is done in Japan is a lot different than the style of juggling that is done in the US, for example. So there's a lot more people doing cigar boxes, which is a style of juggling you rarely see. So it's really cool to see the dichotomy, the difference between these two different styles of juggling. Let's say, for example, you don't live near any of these places. You want to see jugglers, you want to meet jugglers. There's actually a lot of jugglers all over the world. You just need to know where to look. Someone has gone through the trouble of documenting every juggling festival and juggling club that they possibly could into one cohesive list. So if you're looking for a juggling festival in Atlanta, Georgia, in the USA, you can find that. If you're looking for a festival in Finland, I'm sure you can find that as well. And there is so many different festivals to go to. I've been to maybe over 30 different regional festivals in my time, and each one is a totally different experience. Just to give you an example, here's a few places that have juggling festivals listed. United States, Canada, Germany, Israel, Australia, Austria, New Zealand, Poland, Switzerland, Nepal, and the list just keeps going on. You can find this list down in the description below, along with everything else. And when I say juggling clubs, there are often a lot of these little smaller juggling clubs that people will go and do meetups, and it'll be maybe 30 to 40 people all juggling, and they meet up every week. So maybe, if you're lucky, there is one near you. And if there's not, you can always start one. I personally grew up going to the Austin, Texas Juggling Club, and it was a great resource and motivator for me to keep going and feel like, wow, there's actually other people that do this. Wow, that's crazy. It's crazy that other people juggle. Here's something a little more specific. If you're interested in learning performance, or you want to be a performer, maybe you want to be a professional juggler, you can go back on Facebook. There's a group called Juggling for a Living, and it's a lot of people sharing advice on how they juggle for a living. And if you want to take it a slightly different route, there are a lot of circus schools you can attend if you feel like going that direction, where you can learn a lot of theater, you can learn a lot of dance, and put it into your juggling routine. And of course, there's another different direction you can go, which is just finding a juggler you enjoy and seeing if they'll give you private lessons. There's plenty of jugglers that will do that for you. The last thing that I want to bring up that might be interesting to a new juggler is Siteswap. Siteswap is a mathematical notation to document juggling patterns. I am really terrible at describing and explaining how Siteswap works, so I'm sure I'm going to link to you a very nice intro to Siteswap video down below that will really explain everything you need to know about Siteswap. But it'll also be nice because there's a lot of juggling tricks that are named after numbers, like 423, 441. And if you don't know what Siteswap is, then you're probably going to be a little bit confused as to what you're looking at. There's even this nifty tool called the Siteswap generator, where you can put in a Siteswap and it will show you an animation of a little stick figure juggling the Siteswap. The final segment of this video is the props we juggle. If you're new to juggling, you might not know all the different styles of juggling balls or the different styles of juggling clubs that you can get. And it's always good to be informed if you're going to be making a purchase, especially if that purchase is a little more on the expensive side. In this video, we're going to be talking about only balls, rings, and clubs, because those are the props I have the most familiarity with and the most helpful information on. And quite honestly, things like Diablo really require their own video to talk about. Starting off with juggling balls, there are 4 basic types of juggling balls. You have stage balls, which is a solid ball of plastic. It will roll away, there is nothing inside of it. It is just a hollow, solid juggling ball. There is a beanbag, which is sewed together in these panel formations, creating a nice, plush, soft juggling ball, which is typically nice because it's soft on the hands and it will not roll away when you drop it. There's also Russian-style juggling balls, which are my personal favorite, and it is basically a stage ball that has a slight filling of some material, usually salt or sand, and it moves around freely inside the ball. Again, this one is nice because it typically doesn't roll away when you drop it. And the way that the sand or salt on the inside functions, whenever it lands on a body part like your arm, it'll really sit there and it'll really help you catch a ball. If you want to catch a ball on your arm or on your foot, like you want to do foot juggling, this is a great choice for that. And the final basic style of juggling ball is the bounce ball, which is typically used for bounce juggling, where you bounce it off of the floor at the same time as you're juggling. I typically wouldn't recommend getting these if you're just doing regular juggling, because when you drop, it is a mess, and you're going to end up spending most of your time not juggling, and instead you're going to be spending most of your time just picking up balls that are flying everywhere, and quite honestly, possibly breaking things on walls or whatever, because it's basically just a giant bounce ball. When it comes to rings, there are 3 different sizes. There's the 24 centimeter, 32 centimeter, and 40 centimeter. The 32 centimeter is the standard juggling ring size. If someone has juggling rings, it is most likely that they have the 32 centimeter. Some people prefer the bigger size, which is the 40 centimeter, and the 24 centimeter, literally nobody buys that. People who buy that are only buying it for more creative uses where they can juggle the small rings and combine it with the big rings, but almost nobody juggles the small rings by themselves. So personally, I would suggest that you get the 32 centimeter and see what you think of those. And finally, the juggling club. There are 2 basic styles of juggling club. There is the one-piece juggling club, which is a injection mold plastic solid piece of juggling club. There's no inner components, there's nothing on the inside, it is just a solid piece of plastic. This club can hurt a lot. I had a set of these when I first started learning how to juggle clubs, and it hurts. When you catch them wrong, they can really beat up your wrists, they can hit you in the knuckles. If you drop it on your foot while you're not wearing shoes, it could really mess up your toe. It's not the most ideal juggling club. It definitely works, but it has its hazards. The composite juggling club, on the other hand, is a juggling club that is made up of a bunch of different components. So there is the handle, which is its own piece, there is the knob, which is its own piece, there's the cap, there's the body, and they all work together to make a more functioning juggling club that doesn't hurt you as much. And they usually have a core down the middle, usually wood, sometimes it's plastic, but either way, it is a much more comfortable club to catch, and it really absorbs catches a lot better. So if you're really serious about juggling and you want to splurge and get something nice, then I would get something that is not a solid piece of plastic. And yeah, there you have it. There's everything I wish I knew when I first started juggling. I hope you found some use out of this video. And if you did, please feel free to subscribe if you're interested in doing that. I make posts on here every so often, so if you're interested, feel free to subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you later.